Staires once again with Winning in the Workplace, okay? Welcome to all of you managers. Once again, if you are a manager, I'm glad you're watching this because we have such a need for good management in our companies today. As I've told you already, this is the number one issue that I'm finding across the board as I talk with companies across the country as a speaker and also as a business coach, is the management level. How do we get things done? How's that thing going to work? So I'm glad that you're here as a manager. If you aren't a manager, I want to make sure that you do go back and watch the worker videos, how to be an awesome worker, an A-level worker. Also, the next level that we've talked about is how to move from a worker to being a team builder or a trainer, to begin to become that lead person or that supervisor or the head technician or something like that. So how do we begin to bump up? How do we begin to move up the ladder? Today in our session, we're going to be talking about something that I really enjoy. Man, just because it brings order and it brings consistency. And you know how much I love that stuff. So we're going to be talking about your organizational chart. Another way to say this is the responsibility chart. Or another way, if you're Gino Wickman in the book Traction, you call it the accountability chart. But this is a very important tool that most companies do not pay attention to. In fact, I can confidently tell you right now that 100% of the companies that I am working with right now did not have an understandable organizational chart when we first started. This is going to be a great place for us to start here in session number 4 of our management training. Okay, so before we hop into that, I do want to identify just really quickly my 6 stairs steps. Okay, but the stairs steps to freedom. I gotta love that. All right, but here's what we're doing. Okay, the first step in any organization is to understand why the heck are we here. What is going on? What's our purpose? What's our vision? What's our mission? Where are we going? What's this whole thing? Why are we here? If we don't know this, we can really run into problems later on. And once again, many times when businesses begin, their why is to make money. Or their why is because I don't want to work for the man anymore. Okay, so business owners start their own companies. But before long, if we don't identify this and actually begin to lead our company based upon the why, we can really easily get trapped in the what, which is what we're going to talk about here in just a second. After we have a good handle, we understand our core focus, our core values, we have our vision, our mission, we have our purpose in place, then the next piece is the where and the when. This is where we're setting up our goals. Where do we want to go? Money-wise, impact-wise. What kind of an impact do we want to have? What kind of a share of the market do we want to have? But this is the where and when. Where do we want to go? By what time? Again, if we tap into the traction model, which I think is wonderful, you've heard me talk about it before, but if we tap into the traction model, we have not only our 1-year goals, but we also have our 3-year and our 10-year, as well as each quarter we get this thing locked in. So there's all kinds of measuring sticks when we get into the when of what our timetable is going to be. And then after the when and the where, we get into this fun thing, which is the who. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Who do we need? Who are the people that need to be in place to help us win in the workplace? And then after that, we step into number 4, which is the what. Usually, this piece right here, this is a no-brainer. You go to work every day, things are going on. And unfortunately, what happens with most business owners and even with most managers is we get trapped in the what. We get trapped in the daily details. We get trapped in the minutia. You may have heard this. We get trapped in the weeds of the business. But mainly, we get trapped in the business rather than being able to work on the business. So what we want to add, one thing that the reason why we're talking about the org chart today is because it begins to answer this question of how. This is where we find freedom. 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 There's a lot of things on that M. Don't worry about it. Let's just say it's an M, okay? But this is where we find freedom. This in the what? That's where we find traction. This is where we find freedom, right here. And then finally, we have this last piece, which is simply troubleshooting. It's the ongoing process of, okay, what about this? What about this? What about that? It's putting together our systems so that we can easily handle issues and problems that come up. Okay? So these are the stair steps. I wanted to introduce this to you because as a manager, this is a very key important step for you. That's a key important step, and that's an important step. This here and above, that's primarily in the leadership role. And we're going to be talking about that in our next series of trainings, all on leadership. It's very interesting where I've actually had several clients. Actually, I'm kind of in the midst of a client right now that hired me. The owner of the company hired me, the leader, to work with their managers. So I came in, spent 6 months with the managers, and we found out really quickly that the real issues for the managers weren't so much the people that they were leading, but it was the leaders that were leading them. It was very difficult because we tried to put just basic, really good management techniques in place, and the leadership was going, well, that's not really how we do it here. You know, we've always done it this way, and we like to do it that way. And it's like, okay, well, you can't manage that, you know. You might be successful to a certain point, but you can't manage that. So we ran into some real issues when we were training management and leadership wasn't on board with it. So it's just something you want to keep in mind. But so the books, as I've talked about several books so far in each of these series of videos, the books that I'm talking about today, a great resource for you. Number one is going to be the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. You may have read it before. It's a great book, but they talk quite a bit. Gerber talks quite a bit about the accountability chart or the organizational chart. And also Gino Wickman, out of his book, Traction, spends a lot of time talking about the accountability chart, or once again, the org chart or the responsibility chart. Okay? So we're going to dive into this today and spend some time. You guys, I think this is really going to, I think it's going to open up some ideas for you. It's going to open up some possibilities for you. Almost 100% of the companies that I work with, when we get to this piece right here, they're just going, holy cow, I never saw it that way. This makes all the difference. So I'm excited about showing this to you today and sharing how you in your company as a manager can begin to set things up and organize your company. Now, again, before you go and just start doing all this on your own, you have to make sure that the leadership is on board with you, okay? If you are not a business owner, if you are not the leader or the CEO of the company, then you want to be careful as a manager just coming and starting to make all these changes, because the leadership, as I was just talking about a moment ago, the leadership, if they're not on board, they can shut you down. It can make it really difficult. So you want to make sure you are in alignment with your leadership. But if you are a business owner, if you are the leader of the company, the CEO, then this is a wonderful tool for you to put into play with your company. All right? So let's see here. Have I hit my notes that I wanted to hit so far? Boom, boom, boom. Good. All right. So as we come back to our mindset pyramid here, the production mindset pyramid, remember we talked quite a bit, had our sessions on the worker level, how to be a star employee, how to be a trainer or a team builder, and now here we are in the manager level. Again, anytime we are going vertically up and down the organization, this is really, it's not just wearing different hats. If you're a manager, you know what I'm talking about. Man, I'm just wearing a lot of hats. Just got a lot going on, wearing hats. Just constantly taking hats on and off, okay? I want you to know that if, and chances are very good this is true, if you are in numerous boxes going vertically in your organizational chart, that's not a different hat. That's a completely different mindset. It's a different brain that you have. You have to open up your head, take out your brain, put on another brain, and go to work. When you're going horizontal across an organizational chart, now you're looking at different hats. But when you go vertical, it's completely different mindsets when we start tapping into that. Okay, so I just want you to understand that. If you are the leader of a company, if you're a solopreneur, or it's just you and 3 other people, and you're finding yourself all over this thing, I'm doing all kinds of stuff, then it's probably extremely confusing and extremely exhausting for you as you spend time up and down the org chart, and you probably got this tension all the time going on inside of your head going, oh, I want to do this, but I can't do that, but I should do this, but I can't do that, and all this, because there are different mindsets competing inside there, okay? So hopefully this will clear up some things. So as we start with this organizational chart, this is usually one of the very first things that I do with clients when I start out with them is I hand them a blank piece of paper and I say, just really quickly, draw me your organizational chart. Show me what your org chart looks like. And everybody always has an answer, okay? Even if their answer is to look at me, kind of funny, I always know that look, okay? That look is like, yeah, I got nothing. You know, I had one gal did this, loved it. She did not even take her eyes. I gave her the piece of paper. I said, draw the org chart for me. She didn't even take her eyes off of me. She's looking at me the whole time. She grabs the paper, grabs her pen. There's our org chart. I mean, she was just confused. She was exhausted, worn out. She said, Clay, we don't have any kind of organization. We're a family business. I love family businesses, okay? But man, if you run your business like a family, it can be pretty dysfunctional. But the idea here is, Clay, there's just, we're all up in each other's stuff. Whoever's available does the thing. So we're all doing everything together. And again, it doesn't mean that you can't be successful there. This company was a $4.2 million company. But the thing is they were exhausted. They were working 60 hours a week. Everybody was working 60 hours a week. And the owner came to me and said, Clay, I want to get out of this company. I want to do other things. He was 60 years old, 65 years old. He was wanting to do other things. But he's just going, I don't know how to do this. So the very first thing that we looked at was their organizational chart. Now, first of all, as we do this, most of the time when people do an organizational chart, they think of the number of people that they have, all right? Let's say that we've got 5 people or 4 people in the company. We've got Clay, which is me. We've got Bob. We've got Susie, okay? And we have Jeanette. And usually what happens, if you've got 4 people in the company, you usually end up with about 4 or 5 boxes on your organizational chart. And really the only box that is delineated is that top box of the CEO. And then from there, I don't know, the org chart can look like this, the org chart can look kind of like this, or like I said, the org chart can look kind of like this. But what we're doing in these circumstances is, in each box, we're not putting responsibilities, we're putting people's names. So let's say that we've got Bob here, we've got Susie, and we have Jeanette, and we have Clay up here at the top. Then what we do is, man, we really need some marketing. Bob, can you do that? And Bob goes, yeah, I can do that. So we put that into Bob's box, you know. Well, man, does anybody know anything about accounting? Well, I like numbers. I made A's in math. Okay, well, how about, Susie, how about if you go ahead and take the accounting? We're going to put that in there. And man, we need to do some hiring. Bob goes, oh, I love hiring. Okay, Bob likes to hire. So we're going to put this in Bob's box. And then we're just kind of divvying up as days go on. Something comes up we weren't even thinking about, but all of a sudden a task needs to be done. A what has to be accomplished. So we just say, hey, who has time to do this? Bob goes, I'll do it. Well, all of a sudden, that becomes part of Bob's job description, all right? Bob does that. He always does that. I did it once. Yeah, but you did a real good job. So Bob becomes the guy. Bob, you know, he can spell website, so he becomes our webmaster, all right? Even though he still uses the term the worldwide interwebs, okay? He's the webmaster because at least he knows how to spell the thing. And then before